it's Jeff from JeffTV. How's it going? Well, I'm quite excited today. Typically I'll be looking at you know, like a fiberglass bow, something like that, but today I've actually managed to get my hands on a bio-composite laminated bow, and this is a bow right here. This is from Grozer. This is a Hungarian bio-composite laminated bow. Look at this beauty. It's pretty magnificent. So when we say bio-composite, we mean that it's got it's made from organic materials, as they would have been made traditionally. So this actually has horn on the inside here, the bit facing the archer. Then it's a wooden layer through the middle, and then on the outside there's pressed sinew. So that's your laminate, and that's your bio-composite layers. Now even the whipping on here is flax as well, and the sears are made of wood, and they have, if you look there, you can see that there are horn reinforcing plates on each side of that knock. That's the same on both ends, of course. There we go. And there are horn plates on each side of the grip on the arrow pass. It's a fairly solid thing, and listen to this. Wow. Now this is 60 pounds at 28 inches. So this is not the kind of bow that you're just going to pick up and shoot without warming up, not unless you want to damage your shoulders, your fingers or elbow. So if you do have this kind of bow, this isn't a beginner's bow. This is something that you get, once you've been shooting for a while. And you probably would have started off with a 30, then a 40, then a 50, and then a 60 pound. So this would be like your fourth bow at least. You wouldn't want to go straight to a 60. You're just going to strain yourself, and you wouldn't be able to learn any technique. So that's a pitfall that beginners often fall into. They start with a bow poundage which is much too heavy, much too hard to pull for them, and you can't use technique, not on a 60-pound bow. It doesn't matter how big you are, your fingers aren't conditioned to it, not as your thumb or your shoulders or your back. It's just not. So anyway, so we're gonna have a look at this. We're gonna shoot it later on, and yeah, I'll give you a few of the sort of technical details. So you're probably interested, what's the cost? So it's not cheap. Something like this, which is reconstructed in pretty much the way it would have been made, over 1,000 years ago. So we're talking like the 8th, 9th century. This is a Magyar style bow, Hungarian. You can see from the way the sears are on here. See how they sort of come forward very slightly, but there's just one big long bash on the sear. There's no real kazan, just this bit here that's attached here. So this is the bash, and it's quite long and slender. That's typical, and there's no like string pads or anything here. The string doesn't actually rest on the sears at all. That's very typical Hungarian. If you look, it's actually not quite symmetrical. It's a bit wiggly that way, totally solid that way, just not going to move at all. It's not, as I said, a beginner's bow. It's about at the limit of what I can use. It's about at the limit of what I can string safely. I wouldn't like to go heavier poundage to this, really. No, I wouldn't. Anyway, so 395 euros. Thus, you're going to be looking at about 95, maybe 100, low hundreds for shipping. So not cheap, definitely not cheap, but if you can afford it and you want to have an experience which is, I want to shoot an Asiatic style bow and I want to have an authentic experience of what that feels like, then this is the gold standard. It doesn't really get much better than this. So I'm quite impressed with it, actually. The way it's constructed, it's quite good. They've put some kind of a waterproofing lacquer on here. You can see it on the flax, on the whipping, and you can also see it. You can see it sort of shiny on there, on the sinew. Of course, bio-composite bows traditionally they were very susceptible to moisture and the rain, so they were actually the limbs were covered either in leather to protect them, or birch bark quite often as well. So that was another material that was used over the limbs to waterproof them. And quite often, whenever they've been found archaeologically, they've actually been found in bow cases, a hardened leather bow case, which is the shape of the Armstrong bow, which has helped to preserve them as well. Just a few Rus grey finds up in the sort of close to the Carpathian Basin, between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, where there's been a few finds of this style of bow. Very similar actually. The sears aren't quite as long, but yeah, it's very similar indeed. Anyway, yeah, so let's look at a few more technical specifications. We've kind of looked at how it's constructed. There's no documentation on what the poundage is at the maximum draw, which is 32 inches. I've tried pulling it back past 28 and I can get it to probably about 30, and then that's it. I can't go any further. So I can pull up to about 65 normally, so that's probably about as high as it is at 30 inches. By the time you get to 32, I imagine it's going to be going up a bit more, but it's kind of got this, the draw sensation is sort of hard. It's hard to pull, but it's soft. It's very, for want of another word, organic. It feels very clean and smooth. Yeah, it's an interesting sensation. The length of the bow unstrung, so from here to here, measured across there, is 56 5/8 inches, and the length knock to knock, so that's the length from there all the way across to there, is 56.5 inches, which gives us an F value of 0.57. As I said earlier, it's much better if it's closer to 0.6, so 0.57's, that's quite good. So if you do the calculation with the F value, now I said once you've got the F value, you can multiply it. Well, I've said it before, I got it wrong, so I don't want to repeat what I got it wrong, because then I'll keep saying it wrong. The words that come out of my mouth sometimes. Anyway, once you get the to calculate the F value, it's the draw length, not the draw weight. I don't know why I said the draw weight before, but it's the draw length divided by the length knock to knock. So that's that length from there to there, and that's how you get the 0.57. You then multiply that by the draw weight. And that then gives you the weight in grams, actually, that you can actually, the arrow weight in grams, and then you can convert it to grains by multiplying that figure by 15.432. Right, so we said it's a bio-composite. It's got these lovely horn reinforcing on each side. It's not too heavy, actually. I think it only weighs 620 grams, so that's not bad. I mean, I've got fiberglass bows which are the same size as this, and they'll probably be weighing about, up in the 800 sort of range, so it's not bad actually. And it doesn't feel too heavy, and it's well balanced. I'm quite happy with the way it's constructed. There's only one thing on it that really kind of irks me in some ways, and that's the string. They've gone to the trouble of making this beautiful bow, bio-composite bow, using all natural materials apart from the glue, which is modern glue. But then look at the string. It's Dacron fluorescent yellow. I mean, surely they could have used brown, or black, but fluorescent yellow, it kind of detracts from the overall look of the bow, to my mind. That's something they can work on, perhaps. Yeah, it doesn't suit it. It doesn't suit it. Right, so let's have a look at the draw experience of this thing. I have to say, it's a draw monster. It really is. You really got to use all of the technique that in order to draw this bow. It's not something you just pull with your arm. And before I started this video, I was warming up shooting on this target behind me, and just warming up the bow as well. You can't just shoot a bow like this straight away. You've got to warm it up. So with warming up, you just got to sort of pull it a little bit, start to get it used to the fact that it's going to be used, and also let it acclimatize to the temperature. I've been outside probably for about half an hour just letting the bow get used to the outside temperature, because I brought it from inside where it's a bit cooler and it's a bit warmer out here, so I've just been letting it warm up before I did anything with it. So don't forget to warm it up and make sure everything's straight, you know, because this is an organic material. It's not fiberglass. It's not going to be like set that way, you know, thermically set that way and bang, that's how it's going to be. These can move around, you know, they are a bit more susceptible to moisture, although it does have a waterproof coating on it. So always make sure it's straight and that these are in line. This one seems to be a bit lower than this one, but I've tried over the last couple of days to try and get it to move and it doesn't want to. So yeah, anyway, let's have a look at the draw experience. I'll get it up the right way. So this is 60 pounds, so I'm going to use my fingers. Right, so here we go. So you've got to use your back. So let's get down and then see, that's about it. That's about as far as I can go, up to about 32. So 28, 30. I can't pull it any further. It just seems to, like, for me, hit a wall. I just can't put it to 32. Yeah, I'm kind of interested to see how this shoots. I've got these, the guy who lent this to me, because it's not actually my bow, the guy who lent it to me, he gave me a couple of arrows. A guy named Josh, thank you very much, Josh, this is brilliant. He gave me a couple of sets of arrows, and he's got these. So they're kind of traditionally made arrows. These are 570 grains. A bit light, I think, perhaps. That's my feeling. And then these huge, great things. Look at them. They're great fat sharp. These weigh 1,000 grains, you know, so it's like 65 grams, something like that. The bodkin on the front is, I tell you, it's pretty weighty. The whole thing's quite sturdy, and it's got quite, you know, it's quite stiff. I've got some other arrows as well. These are about 700. There's some of my other one. They've got a lighter bodkin on the front compared to that other bodkin. So we're going to see. We're going to shoot like the ones that are nearly 600. These are 700 and 1,000, and we're going to see what happens. How the bow feels. So what do you reckon? Yeah, come on in. We'll go and do some shooting. Yeah. So I'm going to do some shooting now with this bow. Just to recap, this is the Grozer. It's a Hungarian bio-composite laminated bow, and it's 60 pounds at 28 inches. I'm going to try, normally I have a range of arrows which are much lighter than the arrows that I'm shooting today, but because this is a 60 pound bow, I don't want to damage it by shooting anything light on it. So I'm actually going to start with the arrows that I was provided with, and these are 570 grains. And of course, this is a Hungarian bow. I'm going to shoot it Mediterranean style, which is, we don't know if that was the style that they shot it. Maybe they did use a thumb draw, but in recent times, Laszlo Kasai, he's a famous Hungarian archer, and he's kind of redefined archery in Hungary, and they all shoot Mediterranean style. So I'm going to shoot this one Mediterranean style. So here we go. So this is a 570 grain. Yeah, I'd say that those are a bit light. There's a little bit of hand shock. It's not unpleasant, but it's I'd say it's a little bit too much, really. For the bow, I'm going to try to put some cutter into this, and we'll see if I can alleviate some of the vibration. No, still too light. Still too light. You can really feel it. These are 700s. And my gut feeling is that these are going to be the ones that shoot most nicely out of this bow. So here we go. Even that felt. I think it's just there's an awful lot of force going forwards, and you've really got to. There's no padding on the handle. It's just bone. Sorry, just horn. And because it's just horn, there's no sort of sense. Actually, my fingers are a bit slippery on it as well because it's a bit hot here. I think it's about 28 degrees, and it's a bit hard to get hold of. The handles, it feels a little bit narrow for this kind of poundage of bow. Anyway, let's have a look. Let's see how we go. Okay. Okay, try 1,000. I think these are really going to be too much for this, and I think they're going to lob in. They're probably going to drop, I imagine, a little bit from where I'm aiming. Let's see what happens. Well, it wasn't too bad actually. Not too bad. Okay. I may be mistaken. Oh, the knock's a bit short on this one. Right, we'll try. I think that may have gone straight through the bale and out the other side. That was some weight. There's a fair amount of force with this thing. That's a real, I mean, we're talking war bow, really. When I'm going to get to 60 pounds, this is the weight that a horse archer would have used. 60 pounds upwards. This, I mean, this would have been on the lighter side, but it's still in the realms of being a war bow. And with that 1,000 grain arrow, that doesn't happen very often that they go straight through the bale. Yeah, I'm going to go and have to look at that. But anyway, yeah, so the Grozer, like I said, it really is the gold standard. It's a magnificent bow. You know, if you want to get a sensation of what it was to shoot an Asiatic bow, this is as close as you can get. It really is. Like I said, the only thing I don't like is this yellow string. It's a bit incongruous to the rest of it. Interesting that the handle doesn't actually have any leather on it. It's kind of, and it's a bit small. It's a bit small, and like hot, sweaty fingers. Your hand does tend to slide around on it a bit. So because it's so large, it'd be better if it had a little bit more depth to it. But in terms of it being authentic, it probably is. I don't remember seeing the grips being that large on authentic bows. I don't know, I'd have to investigate that. But anyway, like I said, you know, if you want the authentic shooting experience with an Asiatic bow, it's not going to get any better than this. Right, so if you like this kind of content, you know, give me a like, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.